Right now, if you need help, emergency information, resources, and shelter is available. All of this can be found at URL. Los Angeles, together is how we will get through this.
Yes, Mayor Karen Bass, the Democrat mayor of Los Angeles, wanted to refer the people of Los Angeles to URL to find out what's going on. Not the brightest knife in the constellation. What a potato head. Isn't that amazing? L.A. Mayor Karen Bass stumbles through presser script, failing to share emergency information website address. This can be found at URL. Even the radical left-wing extremists at Mediaite are mocking her. Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass stumbled through the press conference script to direct city residents in need of emergency shelter or resources to URL, failing to read out loud the website address that provided the information. Isn't that amazing? Wildfires are intensifying across the region as firefighters struggle to contain 3 massive blazes, which have already claimed at least 5 lives. And among them, the most destructive are the Palisades, the Pacific Palisades, and Eaton fires. But concerns are mounting over the rapidly expanding Hearst fire. That was a fire broke out in Hollywood, the fire in Malibu, and the Sunset Fire, which has engulfed parts of the Hollywood Hills, leaving Los Angeles residents on edge. Yeah, you could say that. Footage of Democrat Mayor Karen Bass standing silent while being furiously interrogated by Sky News journalist David Blevins. Let's go back to that because the media described this as her being furiously interrogated by Sky News journalist David Blevins. Here is the furious interrogation.
Do you owe citizens an apology for being absent while their homes were burning?
Furious.
Do you regret cutting the fire department budget by millions of dollars, Madam Mayor?
Furiously interrogated.
Have you nothing to say today?
Can you back up? Appreciate it.
Have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today?
Nothing. You have nothing. You have fury. And that was what the media describes as being furiously interrogated by Sky News journalist David Blevins. That was David Blevins furiously interrogating. She had just arrived back from a trip to Ghana. Why was she in Ghana? And just amazing stuff. And then she says you should go to URL for hope because, there's medicine and there's help, and might need to see if your grandmother is still alive or whether she was burned alive in her home like she's a New York City subway passenger being torched by illegal aliens, which Democrats are fine with. That's not much of a news story, is it? Isn't that amazing?
All of this can be found at URL.
Yes. Just go to URL. She doesn't know what a URL is. She didn't know what the URL was supposed to be. And what she's supposed to tell people to go to, she really should have said https://, don't you think? Because you got to give all the information. lacounty.gov/emergency. But she said go to URL because she's a Democrat. And none of their brains work. Their brains don't work as designed by God. Gosh, they're amazing. And here's a great one too, because this is amazing. The good people at the Federalist writing a story because these Democrats need to be exposed as the frauds and charlatans that they are. And Brecken F. Tees at the Federalist, the headline is, L.A. sent firefighting equipment to Ukraine, Biden preps handout. And this is crazy, too, because Joe Biden today, now he is attending the Jimmy Carter funeral with all of the former presidents. He's basically a former president now, isn't he? Except he's playing the role of current president. And Donald Trump and Barack Obama going back and forth, having a lively conversation at the Washington National Cathedral. Remarkable stuff. But listen to this. Democrats have been more focused on slashing the fire department budget and sending equipment and money to Ukraine than saving Americans. The Los Angeles County Fire Department shipped equipment to Ukraine in 2022, and now the Biden administration is working overtime to send the country millions more in handouts as wildfires devastate California. Perhaps ABC 7 put it best in 2022 when it declared that all over Southern California, people are finding ways to help Ukraine front and center, and it's no different for the Los Angeles County Fire Department. Honestly, they need handouts because Karen Bass slashed $17.6 million and then sent gobs and gobs of fire department equipment to Ukraine because Democrats love Ukraine, hate America. Hate America. Also, Joe Biden announcing today that he's preparing another $500 million for Ukraine. $500 million more for Ukraine because Joe Biden, because Democrats. Isn't that amazing? Newsweek magazine, U.S. to provide Ukraine $500 million in weapons, report. Apparently there's a report that says the U.S., Joe Biden, the Democrats, to provide Ukraine $500 million. But fear not, it's not cash on pallets, like the Obama-Biden administration sending pallets of cash to Iran, which they did to fund terror against us. The Biden administration is expected to deliver a $500 million weapons package to Ukraine in an effort to bolster Kiev's defense capabilities before President-elect Donald Trump takes office, according to a Wednesday report from the Associated Press that cited senior U.S. officials. Were they anonymous? They're my favorite kind. I love the anonymous types. So amazing stuff. Since Russia's invasion nearly 3 years ago, the U.S. has committed approximately $66.5 billion in military aid to Ukraine. That is a vast understatement of the truth by Newsweek magazine. The latest funding announcement leaves less than $4 billion available under current congressional authorization, with decisions about future support falling to the incoming Trump administration. You notice there's never any talk about putting an end to the war, about ending the war. But if there are any fire trucks left in L.A., let's send them to Ukraine because they're being bombed by a communist. Communists. That's Vladimir Putin. Although the New York Times referred to him as a conservative about a year ago. That was pretty amazing, wasn't it? Just amazing stuff. And, of course, the Democrats want to blame global warming for the fires in Los Angeles, California, because they have very small brains like children, small children, very young children. In fact, there was kind of a crazy story that got my attention today that I want to share with you, too, because they're blaming climate change, global warming, for the fires in Los Angeles and Southern California. More broadly, the Metroplex of Los Angeles, the largest metropolis in the United States of America, anyway, geographically. Now, here's the story from the Washington Post today. Cold weather deaths and exposure risks are rising in the U.S. I'm sorry, what's this? Cold weather deaths? But aren't we supposed to be terrified of one thing and one thing only, and that's global warming? They like to call it climate change some days and global warming other days because these people, can I just say these people? But the Washington Post today with their story, cold weather deaths and exposure risks rising in the United States. But I don't understand. I'm confused. As an Arctic blast approaches the East Coast, a new study finds that cold-related deaths are increasing nationwide. But wait, I'm befuddled. I don't know what to make of this. How can you say that climate change is global warming is the biggest problem we face, other than white supremacists, of course. And then tell me that, and here's the Washington Post, they explain it away in their lead sentence because they have Anna Phillips, a Democrat Party bootlick, typing on behalf of the Democrat Party. On a warming planet, deaths in the United States related to cold weather are going up. Although it may seem counterintuitive, new research, they've always got new research, shows that even as climate change fuels hotter temperatures, cold weather is becoming an increasing risk in the United States. That's because it's wintertime. See, it's January, and we had December last month, and it's the winter in the northern hemisphere, summer in the southern hemisphere, and when it's cold here, people die from cold. By the way, all over the world and forever and ever, cold has caused more deaths among human beings than heat, than warm. And that's why one of the many reasons why a warmer planet is a better planet, and why we should all be happy that the planet is warming by a couple of degrees, because cold kills more people. I've talked about this many times over the years. But it may seem counterintuitive to the people at the Washington Post and to Anna Phillips. As a second winter storm in a week is forecast to pummel parts of the United States, we had about 5 inches of snow in Washington the other day. It's never too early to panic. They're saying it may snow again Friday and Saturday here, and people are already rushing to the grocery store to get toilet paper and milk because only white things fly off the shelves when it's going to snow. So a new winter storm is second in a week set to forecast to pummel parts of the United States. Experts caution that risk factors making people more susceptible to the cold, listen, such as homelessness, Democrats, and social isolation, Democrats, are on the rise. So, homeless people should be taken off the street so we don't live in Calcutta. We should be a first world country. A study published last month in the journal JAMA, the Journal of the American Medical Association, they don't even say it here, they just expect you to know JAMA, found cold-related mortality rates more than doubled between 1999 and 2022, with almost all of the increase occurring in the past 6 years. The research also found that mortality rates were highest in the Midwest, it's cold there, and among adults 75 and older. Well, you should care for your parents and your grandparents, who are more susceptible to temperature extremes. That's why we buy people shawls and things like that. Get nice warm slippers, maybe a hot bath, good stuff like that. We were really shocked, Michael Liu, a fourth-year student at Harvard Medical School and the lead author of the study, said of the findings, showing the rate of cold-related deaths had doubled. Now, this is just classic stuff. It really is, because they tell you heat. They're wrong about everything, and even the things they don't lie about, they're wrong about, because they are them. They are those people. The Politico, left-wing radicals at Politico, cold-related deaths may be linked to global warming. I went researching the story this morning, and I found this. Cold-related deaths may be linked to global warming. They expect everyone to be as dumb and dishonest as they are. And it's always Harvard, isn't it? There's always a study. It's usually Harvard. And there are always Harvard people involved. Cold-related deaths may be linked to global warming. I might make T-shirts out of that headline. That is so ridiculous. Rising temperatures might be altering the atmosphere in ways that cause more extreme winter weather, scientists say. Warming causes cooling. Cooling causes more deaths. These people shouldn't be in charge of anything. We need the adults to take the country back from the idiots. Temperatures plunged across the East Coast on Tuesday after a winter storm dropped heavy snow from the Midwest to the Mid-Atlantic. Yeah, I saw that. Pointing to the dangers of winter extremes even as the planet rapidly warms. It's time that these people all be fired. Give them the hook. We need the hook. Give them the hook. Chris here with a list of things that none of us should trust. The Washington Post, the New York Times, anything on CNN. Here's a list of things that I do trust. The Washington Times. Support real journalism for just $1 a week at washingtontimes.com/Chris. Now, President Trump is in town. He's attending the Jimmy Carter funeral at the National Cathedral today. And yesterday he met with Republicans, senators, and so on Capitol Hill. And it was kind of a big deal. There were roads shut down yesterday. Trump traveling around the city. I saw shut down roads today because we have a total of 5 presidents, 4 former presidents, 1 allegedly current president, Joe Biden, moving around. So a lot of roads shut down in D.C. today, causing me minor difficulties, but never mind that. But President Trump went to the Capitol yesterday, and there was an incident, as you might imagine, because a Democrat was arrested at the Capitol. And here's the headline from CNBC. Man arrested for trying to enter U.S. Capitol with machete as Jimmy Carter lays in state. Now, the thing is, that's not the important thing. I don't think he was going to attack the casket, the flag-draped casket of Jimmy Carter. But police said they arrested a man trying to enter the Capitol complex with a machete and 3 knives. As President Trump was publicly, it was announced, scheduled to arrive at the Capitol. And it's a rusty, nasty, old machete, a big old machete, 1.5 foot long at least, the kind you might find lost in the jungles of Panama, rusty and nasty, and 3 pocket knives. They're kind of stupid-looking little beat-up old pocket knives, but he had 3 pocket knives and this big old machete, and he's trying to get into the Capitol. He was arrested and charged with multiple charges, carrying dangerous weapon and other things. Now, that's pretty wacky, I've got to say, and the radical left-wingers at Mediaite, man with machete and knives, arrested at Capitol just before Trump arrived. The people at Mediaite, Michael Luciano, has the story for the left-wing Mediaite. And they've got actually a better take than NBC fake news, who are complete hacks and frauds. Police arrested a man possessing a machete and 3 knives at the Capitol on Wednesday, shortly before President-elect Donald Trump arrived to meet with Senate Republicans. Trump also viewed the casket of former President Jimmy Carter, who was lying in state in the Capitol Rotunda after dying last month at the age of 100. You should always die first before you lie in state, I think. And Greenland, I've got Greenland and the Panama Canal coming up as well. Greenland, it's big. Not many people live there. Got some fun details for you on that. Okay. The left, I'm going to say it again, the left is the third world. The left brings the third world with them in a stolen satchel. And the left is in charge of Los Angeles. Karen Bass, she wanted to be in Ghana, in Africa, and for the inauguration of the crazy incoming president there, but she's boycotting President Trump's inauguration in Washington, D.C., too close to Los Angeles, I guess. Amazing stuff. The governor, Gavin Newsom, goes around smiling and saying, vote, I'm going to be president. I'm going to be president. Somebody throw me some more mousse jelly for my hair. I need some jelly mousse. And the place has gone up in flames because of Democrat Party policies. And great congressman from Florida, Republican Congressman Byron Donalds, who's a normal person, perfectly normal person, on the Fox Business Channel talking about what's going on in Southern California.
What's happened in California is the fault of Gavin Newsom and the legislature there. They don't take care of their forests, their forestry management. They don't take care of underbrush. They've not done the necessary work to make sure there's fresh water flowing into key areas. The mayor of Los Angeles, Karen Bass, a former colleague of ours up here on Capitol Hill, she's saying there's water in the hydrants, but the fire department has said on multiple occasions there is not enough water in these hydrants. It is an epic disaster of mismanagement. And so what really happens is people suffer.
Yeah, that's because elections have consequences and your vote matters. And if you vote commie, pinko, dimwit, Democrats into office, then this is what you're going to get. And they defund the fire department and they send equipment from the fire department to Ukraine because that makes sense in Los Angeles, California. And Byron Donalds is right. The forestry management, the water management, blowing up dams, Gavin Newsom bragging and cheering himself, patting himself on the back, saying, yeah, we're blowing up more dams. We're tearing down 4 dams. That's the most in the history of the world. That's because nobody's been as stupid as you in the history of the world. Dams kind of matter. If you got 40 million people in the state, as California does, and you want to drink some fresh water and maybe every now and then bathe or hose down your pet elephant or whatever it is you want to do. Byron Donalds.
The people of California, at the end of the day, they have a responsibility to elect competent leadership, starting with the governor through the state assembly and into local government. Because instead of following the far left woke policies of California, which have been disastrous throughout the entire country, that's what Joe Biden and Kamala Harris brought to Capitol Hill. The American people have said enough. And now it's time for the people of California to say they've had enough. They need new leadership if they want to avoid these type of disasters in the future.
That is a fact, Jack. And Byron Donalds said it very eloquently, very beautifully. And that's because he's a common sense American and not a dimwit, a person who is dim of wit, very limited wit. Let's go to the Fox 11 in Los Angeles, California. They've got an anchorman named Melvin Robert who got it wrong and then tossed to their reporter woman out in the field, sucking up burning embers, Gigi Graciette. And the anchor is Melvin Robert. And listen to this. Hey, is there water coming out of the fire hydrants? Because, an official, an elected Democrat official, told Melvin Robert that there's plenty of water coming out of the hydrants.
Despite what you have heard, no firefighters have told us that they are running out of water.
And let's go out to Gigi Graciette. She is live in Pacific Palisades. I know your signal's not the best, but Gigi, what can you tell us?
Well, firefighters have told me they have no water on this block, and you may be able to make out the ember storm that we're in the middle of right now. This house is going to be a total loss. They have no water to put on this fire.
They have no water to put on this fire. And I played for you the audio of the mayor saying, oh, yeah, we've got plenty of water. And then you go to the woman who's the CEO of the Department of Water and Power who says, we don't have enough water. And there's the one of the somebody saying, oh, you put enough straws into your glass of water and you suck all the water out and it's gone.
Claims that the tanks weren't full are false.
She's a liar. Her pants are on fire. They may have been set on fire while she was in Ghana. I'm not sure.
During the peak of the firestorm, city officials say hydrants unable to keep up with the extreme demand.
What is going on with the water situation?
We have had some issues with water. If you stick enough straws into a glass of water, it's going to empty faster.
Yeah, I think that's true. My mother taught me that, too. That's quite remarkable. Yeah, NBC reporter Dylan Dreyer. Amazing stuff. And Lindsay Lance, the L.A. Fire Department spokesperson. She's not a spokeswoman. She's a spokesperson because we're not sure about the whole gender thing. It's kind of complicated when Democrats are involved. All right, let's go to number 16. Number 16. As I say, Congressman Michael Waltz was on the television this morning. I was watching him on the television this morning. He is a Republican congressman from Florida, but he has been selected. He's a Green Beret, and he's a combat veteran, and he's been selected by Donald Trump to be his national security advisor. And so He was invited on to talk about a number of things and the Trump doctrine, the Don Roe doctrine, where he's talking about buying Greenland and trolling Canada, saying we're going to make Canada the 51st state, and that's really trolling. And he's talking about renaming the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America, right? Good, fun stuff. And now there's some talk of maybe making Mexico a state. Now, a lot of this is trolling, and it's fun, and it's Trump, and he's having a good time. And then in the end, he'll strike a deal that will shock everyone. And he had it in the back of his mind the whole time. But the news media just wants to hit him in the back of the head with a shovel, like the psychopaths that they are. But never mind that. Here's Michael Walls, and he was on the television this morning. I was watching it for you. And he's talked about a range of subjects, and I'm leading to the Panama Canal because this matters. They're all telling us, the Chinese. I had last night on my Newsmax show, this came up as a topic, and a lib in the discussion, and all the libs have been given their talking point by the Democrat Party on this. The Chinese don't control the Panama Canal. I don't know why Trump keeps saying that, but they're all lying, of course, and Trump is miles ahead of them once again. That's just another conspiracy theory that will turn out to be true later. But never mind that. Here's Congressman Michael Waltz, incoming national security advisor in the second Trump administration. And one of the things that made me laugh was Kamala Harris. Now, Kamala is at the funeral in Washington for Jimmy Carter today. But he's asking, Kamala Harris was she still is technically vice president of the United States. And she was made our space czar and our illegal immigration czar, our border czar. She was going to go to Central America and the whatever triangle and go to the source of and the root of the problem, and she was going to fix that for us. And she was going to, all the drugs flowing across our southern border. And then she was put in charge of something, peace in the Middle East, and she never did anything. And the news media applauded her and, gave her big wet kisses. And she never did anything right. Here's incoming National Security Advisor Michael Waltz.
Let's look at where Vice President Harris isn't going. She isn't going down to Mexico City. She isn't going down to Central America to deal with the core causes of migration, if you remember that charge. Or how about the cartels? Or how about fentanyl? Or how about the Abraham Accords? That we should have been signing the next round of. Instead, we've got the entire Middle East on fire, but for the strength of the Israelis and Bibi to take out Hamas, Hezbollah, and Iran's air defenses.
Yeah, now, Michael Waltz, you should know, is an Army veteran, a colonel, U.S. Army, Special Forces, war, fought in Afghanistan, was awarded 4 Bronze Star medals, and he actually went, unlike, what's his name? Yeah, Walz, not Waltz, but Walz, the Democrat Walz, who claimed falsely that he went to Iraq and was a combat veteran and all that good stuff. But Michael Waltz is the real deal, and he's not kidding, and he's incoming National Security Advisor, and he's raising questions about Kamala Harris. Hey, weren't you the czarina for this and for that? And did you ever get anything done? I don't think so. And then Michael Waltz talking about what President Trump plans to do when he reassumes the presidency very, very soon. It is now January 9th, and the inauguration is January 20th.
President Trump is ready to come in and clean up the mess once again. If you remember the ISIS caliphate that was on fire in 2015, that he had to clean up, and they're now sitting in prison camps in Syria. He's ready to come clean that mess up once again. And I got to tell you, it's an honor of a lifetime to be a part of helping him.
And, and he's a serious and earnest and sincere combat veteran, a great American, not a Democrat, not by a far stretch. And Colonel, Congressman, National Security Advisor Michael Waltz was asked, hey, President Trump's talking about buying Greenland and making Canada a state and changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America and taking control of the Panama Canal. And you watch, he'll end up cutting the greatest deal. Have you seen that Panama has already announced that they're going to cut the costs for U.S. ships to transit the Panama Canal? Already announced. They're like, okay, what can we do? What can we do to be helpful? And the news media is not going to report that because they're such skeezers. Is skeezer a word you can say on the radio? I think it is. So here's Walls talking about Greenland, and he's talking. President Trump is way ahead of everybody on this Greenland thing. It turns out, forget about Denmark and the Danish and the prime minister there saying, have a jelly roll. It's a little Danish thing, but ich bin ein Berliner. But the Greenland thing has to do with the Russians and Putin. Vlad the Impaler Putin is a Soviet communist Russian, and the Chinese communist. I'm looking at the world as it is today, and the Cold War is hot again. The Cold War is back on. We have three superpowers once again. Russia, Putin's Russia, invaded Ukraine, looking to take over the Arctic regions inside the Arctic Circle. There are a great many important minerals that are needed for the modern world, for batteries and electronics and computers and so on. Many of them are to be found inside the Arctic Circle, and many of them are in Greenland, right? And Michael Walls was asked about all of this, the Monroe Doctrine, the Donald Trump doctrine, and Michael Walls said this.
Look, this is not just about Greenland. This is about the Arctic. You have Russia that is trying to become king of the Arctic with 60-plus icebreakers, some of them nuclear powered. You know how many we have, Jesse? We have 2, and one just caught on fire.
And one just caught on fire is the punchline there. The Russians, under Putin, the communist who wants to reconstitute the Soviet Union, he believes the greatest tragedy of the 20th century was not World War II or the Soviet Union or the Socialist Workers' Party of Hitler, but the fall of the Soviet Union, the collapse of the Soviet Union, which happened thanks to Ronald Wilson Reagan. Thank you very much, but never mind that. And that's great stuff. And Greenland has all kinds of very important minerals, and the Ruskies have their eye on the minerals. The Chinese are moving into the Arctic Circle with ships. They're building new ships. Greenland, again, now keep in mind Alaska, by far our largest state. Alaska is more than 663,000 square miles, bigger than Western Europe. Alaska is. Greenland is 836,330 square miles. Much bigger, hundreds of thousands of miles bigger than Alaska. Very big. The population of Greenland is 56,000 people. That means that plus change, 225. 56,000 people and 836,000 square miles. That means every person on Greenland occupies 14.9 square miles. That's how unpopulated Greenland is. And there are a lot of minerals there, and the commies from Putin's Russia and the commies from communist China doing everything they can to move in. Michael Walls.
This is about critical minerals. This is about natural resources. This is about, as the polar ice caps pull back, the Chinese are now cranking out icebreakers and pushing up there as well. So it's oil and gas. It's our national security. It's critical minerals.
It's about dominating the 21st century, which the Chinese plan to do, which Putin would like to do. It's about the reestablishment of the old Cold War order from the 20th century and the Chinese Communist desire to dominate the world in the 21st, and these important minerals. Michael Walls.
Denmark can be a great ally, but you can't treat Greenland, which they have operational control over, as some kind of backwater. It's in the Western Hemisphere. Multiple presidents have tried to bring it into our sphere. And here's the thing, as you just saw from Don Jr. landing up there, the people of Greenland, all 56,000 of them, are excited about the prospect of, making the Western Hemisphere great again.
He was on with Jesse Waters. That's who he was on with. That's right. It wasn't even this morning. It was last night. Michael Walls, incoming National Security Advisor, talking about the big picture.
So this is about reintroducing America in the Western Hemisphere, whether that is taking on the cartels, the Panama Canal, Greenland, the Gulf of America, which I love. I'm waiting to see the maps redrawn, right? You could call it Monroe Doctrine 2.0, but this is all part of the America First agenda, and it's been ignored for far too long.
And I've got a Panama Canal item for you when we come back. President Trump saying the Chinese control the Panama Canal Every liberal in America angrily pounding the table, saying they do not, because they're stooges for the communist Chinese. And then I've got former three-star General, Lieutenant General, Army General Keith Kellogg on that same subject. That is coming up.
Look, the Panama Canal is vital to our country. It's being operated by China. And we gave the Panama Canal to Panama. We didn't give it to China. And they've abused it. They've abused that gift. It should have never been made, by the way.
Donald Trump, day before yesterday, at his big press conference, talking about the Chinese communists controlling the Panama Canal. Every liberal, every Democrat in the country will tell you that's not true. Now let's go to now retired three-star Army General, Lieutenant General Keith Kellogg, who was on the Fox News Channel, and he was going through a litany of issues quite rapidly, actually, and he threw something out on the Panama Canal and this organization called the Land Bridge Group, which is a Chinese company controlling the Atlantic side of the Panama Canal.
You know, the Land Bridge Group is a Chinese group that's actually running the Panama Canal. They've got their headquarters on the Atlantic side in Cologne, and they basically do run the canal. And the president's right about that.
And the president's right about that. And here's a three-star. He's not a political hack. He's really not, Keith Kellogg. But I went and did some looking into this because it's what I do. The landbridgegroup.com. I was reading from their own website. Landbridge headquarters are located in Brisbane, Queensland, and its holding company, Landbridge Group headquarters, are in the Shandong province of China. Now, wait a minute. What is that? The Landbridge Group's headquarters? You got Landbridge subsidiaries in Australia because that's a feint by the communists, right? But the Landbridge Group's headquarters, according to their own website, are in the Shandong province of China. That's communist China. And they have the control of an island on the Atlantic side, the east side of the Panama Canal. My best girl and I, a few years ago, got on a boat in the Panama Canal, made our way down to the Atlantic side. A lot of fun. Went by the prison where Manuel Noriega was held. That was kind of fun. And the land bridge, like you build a bridge across the land. The land, for dinner table conversation with your Democrat family members, the Land Bridge Group in control with the Panamanian government, with their blessing, but they're paying for it, they're buying it, and they're threatening, of course. The Land Bridge Group, Chinese, Panama Canal.